In each hypothesis test, we'll need to make a decision whether we want to reject the null hypothesis or fail to reject it. First, we make a decision about the null, and later we make a decision about the claim. Keep in mind that the null and the claim are not necessarily the same thing. Because we're making a decision, errors can occur. And there are two types of errors that we want to look at here. Type 1 error is rejecting the null when it's actually true. And a type 2 error would be not rejecting a false null. In order to explain these, the criminal justice system is often used as an analogy. In the United States justice system, an accusation is made, and defendants are assumed innocent until proven guilty. Let's look at an example of a type 1 error. Imagine a defendant is actually innocent of a crime. Evidence is presented at trial, though, which points to the person being guilty. So a type 1 error would be wrongly convicting a person that's actually innocent. The analogy for a type 2 error is as follows. Imagine a person is actually guilty of a crime, but evidence of the person being guilty wasn't presented at trial. So a type 2 error would be failing to convict a guilty defendant. Keep in mind that not being shown to be guilty doesn't necessarily mean the person is innocent. In the U.S. justice system, evidence needs to be conclusive beyond a reasonable doubt. And the system assumes more harm is done by convicting the innocent than not convicting the guilty. Let's see how all this applies to statistics. If a manufacturer advertises its new hybrid car as having a gas mileage of 50 miles per gallon, but a statistician rejects their statement by finding a sample mean that is lower than what they had claimed, let's write the null and alternative hypotheses so that we can understand the situation. In order to write the null hypothesis, you start with an HO and then put a colon. On the right side of that, you have to make a statement involving a population parameter, such as the population mean. Let's write mu equals 50. That was actually what was claimed by the advertiser. Now let's write the opposite, which is the alternative hypothesis. It's the complement of the above, so we need mu is not equal to 50. Let's say that the statistician decides that the null hypothesis was false, but in reality it turns out to be actually true. What type of error would the statistician be making? So one thing that can be really helpful when it comes to hypothesis testing and making decisions is I recommend writing the word like next to the one that you like as the statistician. This statistician did not like the null, presumably because they had found a sample mean that was substantially lower than 50. So the statistician actually likes the alternative. Now, like and don't like aren't technical terms. They're just a guide for yourself so that you can understand your own thinking about the null and alternative. So in this problem, it turns out that the statistician actually wrongly rejected the null. So what type of error is it? Well, a type 1 error occurs when the null is rejected, but it's actually true. So in the case of the analogy, it's like the null was the innocent person that got wrongly convicted. HO is rejected, but it is actually true. This would be a type 1 error.